Hey everyone, this is Solomon here with Abada.com, and today I'll be walking you through generating a plan for your 2025 uh, planting year. At the end of this tutorial, you will have an Excel spreadsheet with a list of your crops, when to plant them, sow them, transplant, and a bit of details about your as well. Um, Please note we're still in beta, so if you have any issues, feel free to email us at info@abada.com. There's also a 30 money back guarantee if you're not satisfied, so totally risk free. Uh, do note this is only for premium members, so if you're interested in using this tool, make sure you sign up for the $5 a month. And without further ado, let's go. So, why use a crop plan in the first place? Well, number one, it's standard. Most farmers around the world use them. And two, you don't want to just haphazardly throw your seeds in the ground and hope for the best. You want to have a plan, know what to expect, make estimates for your yield, and this way you will save a lot of time and energy. So I'm going to assume that you don't have any prior knowledge, and I'll be sure to leave timestamp if you do, so you can skip past all this, but we'll start with the fundamentals. So what is a hardiness zone? Hardiness zone, according to the USDA, is the standard by which gardeners and growers can determine which perennial plants are most likely to thrive at a location. So this is what the global plant hardiness zones look like. Even though this is pretty much created by USDA, it's not limited to the United States proper. Every part of the planet has a zone, 1 through 13, and there's also subzones A and B within each zone. Next piece of business, what is a frost date? So according to the Farmer's Almanac, a frost date is the average date of the last light freeze in spring or the first light freeze in fall. Now, why is this important? Well, because certain plants only grow during certain parts of the year, and if you sow too early, you run the risk of killing your plant, and if you sow too late, you run the risk of never allowing it a chance to grow. So let's go ahead and keep moving on. So how do you find your hardiness zone and everything else? Well, a good place to start is with almanac.com for the 2025 Farmer's Almanac. I've actually gone ahead and purchased the online version of this. And as you can see here, if you live in the US, it gives a list of cities and it gives you a list of the last spring frost date and the first fall frost date. You can pick up one of the physical copies pretty much at Target. Most gas stations carry them. You probably walk past them all the time and don't even pay attention to them. So make sure you have one of these handy, especially just in case with everything going on, run the risk of power outage, and plus just physical print, you can't go wrong with it. So without further ado, I've already sort of given you an idea of what this will look like. I'll go ahead and log into my account and give us all a walkthrough. So right here, I actually do have two crops that we'll be planting. I've gone ahead and taken pictures of the seed packages, and I'm going to sort of walk you through. So first things first, we're going to start with our orange hat tomato. So I'm going to scroll down here, enter the name of our farm, which is Abada Farms. The year is going to be 2025. My hardiness zone is 6B. The first frost date, let's go ahead and look at the almanac. So I'm in Pennsylvania. I think I'm a bit closer to Franklin. So my last frost date is going to be May 9th of next year. So I'll go ahead and select 2025, May number 9. Okay, and I just put that into the wrong field. That should actually be right here, May number 9, and that's my last frost date. Now the first frost date, which is when right before winter begins, let's see again, is going to be October 17th. Of 2025, not May 9th of 2025. So let me go ahead, October, and just going to double check here, 17th. Boom, there we go. Okay, so the name of our first crop is orange hat tomato. Okay, number of weeks to start indoors. So there's still a few features we're going to add here, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So if I hover over here, we'll get a bit more info. Enter the number of weeks before the last frost date to start seeds indoors. So if I scroll down here, we can see the instructions right here. We want to start 6 to 10 weeks before the last frost date. So I'm just going to go ahead and estimate up and go with the full 10 weeks. Weeks after the last frost date to transplant. I like to play it safe with 2 weeks, but you can do your own research there. Weeks after the last frost date to sow directly. We can actually sow directly right then and there, but I'll throw number 1 here. Harvest weeks, I'm going to go with 5. I'm also going to give myself 5 successions. Now, what is a succession? Is the number of times that you plan to plant this crop in succession. So as you can see here, you'll notice that these are sort of staggered. That's because we've planted them in succession. So after a certain number of weeks, we've sown and transplanted one plant, and then after a certain number of weeks between this and this, we've actually direct sown another. So there's about 2 weeks between this crop and the next 3. And what that does is it gives us a series of harvests that we can anticipate. So everything doesn't all grow at the exact same time. We can, as we're harvesting, we've got some more crops getting ready to ripen for us. Number of days to maturity. It's not always written on the back of these packages here, but quick Google search will let you know. I know from experience it's about 85 days for larger varieties, and just for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to stick with that. This one may be a little less, but we can always, when in doubt, you can always Google for this sort of thing. So I'm going to add the crop. There we are, got a green message. We can see our crop right here, and you can also delete, remove your crops if you're dissatisfied. So the next crop we're going to use or demonstrate, and I've chosen this one for a reason, are Georgia Southern Collards. So I'm going to go ahead, Georgia Southern Collards. All right, weeks to start indoors. We will not be starting these indoors. We're going to sow them directly. Usually isn't a good idea to transplant these sorts of things. Weeks after last frost date to transplant, we won't be transplanting. We're going to sow everything directly into the ground. So if I scroll down for the planting instructions, this will give us a bit more info. So this particular crop needs moist, fertile soil, and watch this, sow late winter, mid-spring, and harvest before hot weather. So this is something that actually does a bit better in colder weather. Or plant in early fall for late fall harvest, or start indoors and transplant. In this case, I know I'm contradicting myself a bit. I'm not going to transplant. I'm just going to sow everything directly outside. And I'm going to sow about 6 to 8 weeks before the last frost date. So good thing you can actually enter a negative number. So I'm going to go ahead with -8. Harvest weeks, I'll give it 5 harvest weeks, 5 successions. Days to maturity, I'm going to estimate that at 30. Once again, this will not tell you the days to maturity. This is something you'll have to research on your own. So I'm going to go ahead, add that crop. Boom, we've got our information, and when all said and done, I can go ahead and generate our crop plan. And in a moment, got to make sure that I'm not a robot. All right, and there's our new crop plan. So if I open it, let's give it a moment. This is an older example here. All right, I'm actually going to close this out. And let's read. All right, and we have our crop plan for 2025. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a bit here so we can see better. Whoop, zoomed in a bit too much. Let's zoom out a little. All right, and as you can see, we've got our farm information here, name, the year, hardiness zone, and everything else we've entered. You can refer to this key for these abbreviations: SI, sow indoors, DS, direct sow, plant it directly in the ground, transplant, take it from inside to outside, and harvest is the time that it's appropriate to harvest your crop. So as you can see, we've got our 5 successions of tomatoes, as well as our collards. So that is pretty much it. So this works with Microsoft Excel, of course, but if you don't have it, you can actually upload this file into Google Sheets, or online if you use Outlook. There may be some other software that you can use as well. So this is pretty much it. You can print this out, post it up, use it as a guide for your farming year. And if you have any issues, feel free to reach out to us at info@ibotta.com. Once again, it's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you're dissatisfied, have any issues, we'll send it back to you as quickly as possible. Thank you all for your time, and Happy farming. See ya.